Do you actually have to be on cocaine to be on this podcast?
It's a great day to be a Wildcat!
Cocaine?
Durfing?
What's up, everybody? You're listening to yet another edition of Cocaine Willie, the official K-State representative on the College Huddle. And tonight we are breaking down each defensive position group, as again, we're just a few weeks away from the start of the college football season. Last week, as you will remember, we went through every offensive position group and then talked about everything at a high level. We're going to do the same thing with the defense this week. Probably going to be a little shorter episode, but it's all going to be good. But before we dive into the episode, we want to give first a shout out to our two sponsors, Annie Mae's Parlor and Pat's Beef Jerky. We'll start with Annie Mae's Parlor. The show is brought to you by Auntie Mae's, located at 616 North 12th Street in the heart of Aggieville in Manhattan, Kansas. Annie Mae's has been in business for 50 years and is an absolute must-visit destination in Aggieville on game days and school nights alike. Annie Mae's is far and away my favorite destination in Aggieville, and I always make a point to go visit my auntie every time I come back to the Little Apple. They feature a wide variety of craft cocktails, draft beers, and everything in between, along with entertainment like live music, comedy, and all sorts of other events every single week. Check out their website, www.antimaze.com, to get a list of all of their upcoming events. And go visit your auntie every time you go back to Manhattan. Again, they are at 616 North 12th Street in the heart of Aggieville. And as you're listening to this, just looking at the events that they have for the week of August 5th, they're going to have the Underground Guitar Pull on August 8th at 7 p.m. Go check it out. The show is also brought to you by Pat's Beef Jerky, located at 401 Main Street in Liebenthal, Kansas. Pat's Beef Jerky has been serving up the finest beef jerky in the Midwest for 34 years strong and feature mouthwatering flavors like Chef's personal favorite, the classic beef jerky, my personal favorite, their savory beef pepper sticks, and Fireball Matt's personal favorite, the teriyaki beef jerky. There are 3 places where you can get yourself some Pat's Beef Jerky. You can pick it up in person at either the Fridge Liquor Store in Manhattan or at their original store at 401 Main Street in Liebenthal, Kansas. Last but not least, you can also get Pat's Beef Jerky online at www.patsbeefjerky.com. And if you use the promo code CATS at checkout, that's CATS with a C, you will receive 10% off your next order. In addition to their jerky, they also have merch like the fabulous Script Pats logo that you see ever so lovingly on your screen right now, along with some trucker hats. They've got all sorts of stuff there. So it's all available on their website. Go use the promo code CATS at checkout and visit patsbeefjerky.com to place your order today. Guys, we're talking defense. We're talking defense wins championships. Let's be real. We're going to do a defensive position group breakdown. I guess to start things off here, which position group on defense do you feel the most confident in heading into the 2024 season?
Man, from the track record, it has to be secondary. It has to be. Joe Klanderman has done nothing but put out transfer talent into the NFL. They've somewhat started slow, similar to like how the offensive line goes, but I trust the defensive coaching for the backfield a lot more than I do especially the defensive line with how young they are. But I'm going to go secondary. Siegel is a captain. Parrish is probably Parrish and Gardner are probably a top duo in the Big 12 at corner. And then you bring in transfer. That is a telltale sign of a successful K-State defensive backfield, is when you have the transfer who has 1 year and they just shine. And that's Perry. So I got him, and then VJ Payne, who is an absolute unit going to be a third-year starter as a junior. Yeah, give me the defensive backfield. They're going to be the most proven, and I think they're going to be the most ready out of the box.
Who did you say is the second year? Did you say Perry?
Isn't it Jordan Perry?
Jordan Riley?
Jordan Riley. Apologies.
Oh my
God,
goodness.
that name's slipping, bro.
My goodness.
Jordan Riley. Why did I say Perry? Didn't we have a Jordan Perry that transferred?
Jordan Riley's the transfer from Rice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
and
that's Josh that's Dunbar. He plays corner.
Jordan Dunbar.
But we had I feel like we had a Jordan Perry that played safety from Georgia.
We have Jordan Allen. He's the only Jordan on the defense, and Jordan Dunbar.
Check who just transferred out. He wore number 43 last year.
We're off to a great start tonight, boys.
God.
Jordan Riley. Okay,
yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. Well, no, I got it. And I told you.
Yeah.
No. I admit I have to agree with Chef. And that's just because the question marks in the other areas are a lot more than the cornerback and safety space. I do think, at least from the cornerback position, we have to hope that we see some improvement, not just out of an incremental, improvement year after year as you're growing into your role, but we saw a lot of great flashes from Jacob Parrish last year, and on the other side, we saw Keenan Garber grow into his own kind of towards at the end of the year. But for me, it's going to be important that Keenan Garber really I can't read that. That's not helpful. Jordan Perry. He's a linebacker. Did you even read the position?
He was a safety before he.
Yeah,
he transferred out.
Oh, okay. He transferred out. Got it. Yeah. But I think the cornerback room is going to have to see some more incremental improvement, especially with Keenan Garber. Growing into the position, coming off of, in general, he really ended the season, I would say, fairly strong, but he's basically going to be covering, the number 2 pretty consistently through the season. So I agree with Chef's assessment that the secondary is going to be the strongest area on the defensive side. But it's one that, we saw flashes of last season, but we also saw some pretty snobby games. So, it's one that if this team's going to go pretty far, especially against some of the offenses and quarterbacks we're going to see this season, they're going to have to be on their A game pretty much throughout the season.
I think it's going to be contingent on, health too, because you could go 1A, 1B with the linebacker group, because if you bring back some of those young linebackers that were hurt last year, that unit is absolute salt too. It's tough to get over Desmond Purnell and then a 7th-year senior in Austin Moore, basically, who's a grown man. And then you bring in other talent transfers at middle linebacker to shore it up. So I would say the DBs just edge them, though. It just edged them.
Which position group has the most question marks for you?
Defensive tackle.
Yeah, if you could just split the D tackles from the defensive line, it's definitely D tackle.
Yeah, Uso. We saw. I think Uso is going to have a really, really great year, but he's going to have to gain some consistency if he's going to be the number 1 guy in the middle. We saw Damian Alalio had some good plays last season too, and he's going to be battling with MAC. So they are going to have to really show some improvement as a group, and being able to bring in different guys off to cover Uso, when he needs a rest, and still be able to maintain and get inside, especially, on passing downs is going to be really key. So I'm going to say the defensive tackles.
I have to agree with you. I mean, you named off 3 guys that we have a lot of, high hopes for, but can they piece it together to be a unit? Because like you said, Malcolm Alcorn-Crowder, he wasn't even supposed to be playing nose guard. We didn't think he was going to be playing nose guard, but it sounds like he's big as a house. And if he has, a touch of the speed that he showed on tape playing at that nose guard, he is going to be really, really tough, but it's unproven. And I love Damian as much as the next guy, but he's not Will Gary, and he's Will Gary's size, but maybe he grows into that role. But we really want to see Uso pop. We want to see Uso take that next step, his 3rd year in the program, be healthy, be able to play more downs than he has been able to. And if he can, that really, really, really helps every position on the field, because he's such a big cog in the middle of that defense that it gets everything going in this 3-3-5.
It's definitely defensive tackle, and we saw some great strides by Damian Ilalio last year, but I feel like we're still waiting to see that from Uso. So being able to bring in, I mean, Uso's had some flashes, but I want to see some consistency game in and game out, and I want him to stay healthy the entire season.
Yeah. The wild card, man, is what if we go to that 4 down look, and we get Cheedy kind of playing on the inside, and we have like not necessarily 4 defensive ends, but if you get Mack, Cheedy, Jordan Allen, and Brennan Mott out on the field as 4 defensive linemen that can rush at the same time, man, that is spooky season. I love saying spooky season, but it's just, God, that is crazy to even think about. But we have to have consistency from that D tackle position to be able to even do that.
I agree. And Malcolm Alcorn-Crowder coming in. Did we just coin MAC? Has that been done somewhere else, or is that new? Did we do that?
Mac truck.
That's how I've seen it. I've seen Big Mac, and MAC just sounds better. I mean, okay, Big Mac is kind of crazy.
I'm going with MAC. When we're looking at all the position groups on defense, which one do you feel like is going to improve the most from last year to this year, or has the most room for improvement? I guess might be another way to put that.
Most room for improvement. It's the defensive ends, right? The defensive ends. I mean, you lose Khalid Duke, and I was a big Khalid Duke fan. He brings that fishing pole out and he fucking reels you back in.
What, 9 sacks last year or something like that?
No, he didn't have that many.
I thought he did.
No, I think he was like around like 5. I think he had like 5 or 6 sacks last year, and then Brennan Mott dropped a lot too in terms of production. Once you lose a Felix Anudike-Uzomah, Brennan Mott's production went way down. But
yeah, he had 6 sacks.
And that's a good solid season from a defensive end, in my opinion. I think if you're bringing 6 sacks to the table, and as much as we rotate, that is, and from a 3-3-5 defensive end who's kind of undersized, he was really not even supposed to be in that position, but he stuck it out and he was really, really good. But we can improve so much more because of the young talent that we have. I mean, I'm so high on Chidi Obiezor that it's scary to even think about like how good he can be. I don't remember ever having a guy like that, a defensive end at Kansas State. Like, I mean, Wyatt Huber was all 6'3", 250. Obviously, we know what Felix Anudike was. Maybe like back when Ian Campbell was here.
Jordan Willis was a tall guy, wasn't he?
I feel like he was only like 6'3", or 6'4". maybe he was 6'5". I don't know, but
It ain't
Cheaty's
short.
that ain't short, but Cheaty's all of 6'6", 270. And he's a redshirt freshman. He didn't even play all 4 games. Like,
and he's got a solid pedigree too because of his brother playing at
his
TCU.
brother is a fast, like, nimble linebacker, and Cheaty was a basketball
in the
player.
NFL now?
I don't know. Is he still at TCU? I'm not sure, but he was I know when I saw Cheaty, he was playing basketball. So I mean, for God's sakes, he's just really kind of scratching the surface as a football player in general.
He hasn't graduated yet. Sorry.
Hopefully he's got 2 years left for the inevitable. Got to come back, play with his bro.
Ooh,
yeah,
that'd be fun. That'd be fun. So yeah, defensive end for me.
I'm actually going to go with the linebacker position, and it's not improvement on the front line, but it's the backup situation that inevitably last season we saw some of the issues with having to play, a guy like Austin Romaine, which that's not bad on Austin Romaine, right? He's a true freshman. And a lot of people this season aren't talking about Austin Romaine that probably should, because to get game experience like that, your true freshman season, that is the ultimate way to improve into a position and get your own game going, playing in the Big 12. But you have Austin Moore, Alec Marenko has been talked about as a guy who's probably going to come in, and, we're very excited about him, and Desmond Purnell. But who's behind there that's going to make the impacts that we need them to? Bo Palmer's name was said a lot last season. Asa Newsom got hurt, but he's been talked about as being, an extremely athletic player, somebody who will be able to gel into that role. Rex Van Wy was a transfer who came in last season. He played some at the end of the season, having another year. He's an older veteran presence that you're bringing, into your room. So we have to improve with the development of kind of that second line or those backups that, if somebody goes down or if we need to give somebody a few play break, like, who's it going to be? Because ultimately the linebackers are an area last season where we saw how one guy in Daniel Green going down, it kind of just changed the dynamic of what the defense was for a bit. And so the improvement of that second line is going to be really key for us.
Which group on defense do you feel like has the most depth? I would probably say safety.
Safety. I would say linebacker, just because if the health is right, I mean, you're solid 2 deep is, I wouldn't be if you had a healthy 2 deep of where I expect Kansas State's 2 deep to be at, I wouldn't be mad if any of those guys were starters. Like, I wouldn't be nervous at all. So I think it's linebacker, and that's not even including guys like Cam Salas who has been lighting it up from what everybody's been saying this spring. Even broke his arm and then still came back and is still lighting it up. And then you got younger guys like Jake Stonebreaker. That's a name. Like, that's just a name. That's crazy.
That is a name.
Who does that? So, I mean, and then you got Terry Kirksey, who I think it just took him a little bit of time to get acclimated to what actual Division I football is like, coming from the JUCO ranks. I'm hoping that he can turn that around. If he can't, it was a flyer, but he had such high pedigree coming out of where was he at? Hutch, that, I was expecting a lot of things from him. And we're already 3 deep down in terms of positions on the field at linebacker. So I think it's the deepest for sure.
And also, what's a better name between Jake Stonebreaker and Holden Bass on the defensive line?
I'm holding that bass,
Holden
baby.
Bass and kicking ass.
Oh my lame asses.
Okay. Finish the sentence. The leading tackler will be
Austin Moore.
Ooh, yeah. I was going to say him or Desmond Purnell.
I want to know if we were close on the numbers from last year, because I don't know if we ever touched on that, because I think I remember us having an episode where we talked on how many tackles Austin Moore was going to have over under. I said 80. I don't know where he ended up at, though.
I don't know. I'll have to look into that. The leader in forced fumbles will be
Des Purnell.
Ooh, I like that.
He's the punch king. Him and Austin Moore were just going. They're every time they come in for a tackle, they're hitting somebody hard. Like they're punching the ball every time. And they wear enough tape on their damn hands that, I'm surprised they could ever catch a football.
I agree.
Okay.
I want to say.
The leader in interceptions will be.
Oh, it's
Marquise
Siegel. Yeah, it's got to be Siegel.
If he's got his mind right, it's going to be Marquise Siegel.
He's had so many opportunities last year. Give me Siegel. It has to be him. Come on. He had 12 of them last year if he didn't drop them.
He had 9 PBUs last year, something like that. The leader to that same question, the leader in pass breakups will be
Jacob Parrish.
Oh. VJ Payne.
The leader in sacks will be.
Okay, I've already been on the record saying this. I'm going to say it's Desmond Purnell.
Okay.
And I believe I'm on the record of saying that if it's Desmond Purnell, we're screwed. I actually remember that show.
Yeah.
I am on the Jordan Allen hype train.
Jordan Allen. Man.
I'm gonna go with the young gun Tobi Osasami.
Oh
track star. He's gonna get off the blocks quick and he's gonna get past the line of scrimmage and get in the backfield. I think his speed is gonna be his advantage there. Okay. Speaking of defensive tackles, defensive ends, we're going to talk about the line in general. It's Brendan Mott last year. He led defensive line groups, so counting both tackles and ends, in the most statistical categories with 28 total tackles, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 pass deflections. Will he be statistically one of the better all-around defensive linemen? Not in one specific category, but when we're thinking all-around defensive lineman again in 2024. And if it's not him, who do you think it will be?
Well, Matt already said Jordan Allen's going to lead the team in sacks, so I think his answer has to be him. I think as a defensive lineman, I think it's going to be, Cheaty, because he's going to be more of a run stopper, that he'll be in more of a, in the plays down in the trenches where he's like stopping people at the line of scrimmage. And he's so tall that he could probably get up and bat a lot of balls. We haven't seen him play a lot though. So that's where I hesitate, because what does he put on film? But if he has what I imagine that he has in terms of energy and, hustle to get down the line and make plays, I think it's going to be Cheaty. He's going to get his fair share of sacks and TFL. So give me Cheaty. I think the boy can play.
Jordan Allen. I mean,
what number is he wearing? Is he 90 even? No, that's Ryman.
How do you have the numbers
I don't know.
Your head already?
I'm gonna go with the incumbent here. I'm gonna go with Brendan Mott. He's got a good track record of doing it.
91.
Yeah.
But
that's Felix's number.
Yeah.
Hey yo.
Brendan Mott looks like he's having a lot more fun this year. I mean, obviously, this is like the first time they put him, out in the public eye, like to be like a captain, take him to Big 12 media days, but he looks like he's having fun. He looks like he looks good. Like he looks like he's in shape, big, tall, handsome kid. And he's been in the program a long ass time too. So,
I remember that South Dakota game. That was the first game that we ever previewed as a pod together. And he had a breakout game that game. He had an amazing performance. And I'll never forget that breakout game he had against South Dakota. I think his experience is going to lend to him being a good, solid, all-around guy. Again, that being kind of the key there. But speaking of, again, like individual statistics, this was kind of a funny one to look up. Cody Stufflebean has the most sacks of any returner on the defensive line with 2
No way.
from last year. He was behind Nate Matlack and Khalid Duke. So will he take the sack crown in 2024? I think I already know where the two of you are going with this. Or do you see that title going to someone else?
No, but he is going to be integral in, how we, run our defense, because he is probably one of the stronger defensive ends that can kick down. And if we do that 4 down lineman set every once in a while, he can, fill in on the inside where we can get the defensive ends out there and also maintain having to, not necessarily having to put Uso and Damian out on the defensive line at the same time. So Cody's going to be, he's a hustler too. I think he plays some special teams as well, but I still remember that hit that he laid on that Baylor quarterback. I thought he broke him in half. Like, I thought he ripped his body in half, literally, on Desmond's scoop and score for a touchdown. But yeah, and aesthetically, he looks cool too. Like, he's old school. It just has out there with just wrist braces on, like no gloves, just pure farm boy.
McPherson, Kansas, baby.
Jordan Allen.
Oh my God, Matt is bringing nothing to the pod today.
I provided my reasoning about Jordan Allen.
Yeah, we get it.
So
I already mentioned it. I'm going Toby O. I think his track abilities and everything he brings to the table with his speed. All we hear about Felix Anudike-Uzomah in the NFL right now is he can't get off. He can't get off the blocks on the snap at all. He's super slow off the snap. And for whatever reason, he was able to get the amount of sacks he was able to get at K-State. If you get a guy like Toby who can get off the blocks, and again, we haven't seen it in a game from the defensive edge, but like, dude, he could be dangerous. That's just, I'm throwing it out there. He's going to be dangerous.
I mean, I've seen Felix in Chiefs camp. He looks ridiculous. He looks so good. He's improved a lot. This isn't a Chiefs pod.
He has.
But yeah, we've been talking about Toby for a long time. I mean, that's a famous, I have some good takes every once in a while, and I bring up that one that's like, whatever. But yeah, Toby at defensive end he's going to be crazy. It's just, he's undersized for the position. So will he have specialty packs? Will he come out there when it's 3rd and 8 and we know he's going to pass? Because if his pass rush is as good as we think it could be, that's a guy that could end up leading the team in sacks.
Yeah. And Matt, what are your thoughts on Toby's move to defensive end? Because he was a linebacker the last 2 seasons, granted, true freshman and redshirt freshman seasons. But what are you looking for out of that move, and how important do you think he's going to be to this defense?
Well, he's not Jordan Allen, so no, I'm kidding.
My God,
there are a lot of attributes about him that make you think he has potential to be really good in the position. Obviously, talking about the speed and agility that he has, and can you figure out a way to leverage that against some of the really experienced offensive linemen in the Big 12? Because it's not necessarily all about speed. I mean, there are guys out there that, will take advantage of your speed and make sure you're on the ground, not being able to do anything. So in the offseason, how has he developed some of the skill set of leveraging that speed, but also, it's not going on the outside all the time, I think is going to be really key for him. So I'm probably a little lower on him than other people, just because I believe in some of the other guys in the defensive lineman room that are going to probably make more of an impact. But if he has figured out, when I'm on the field and it's 3rd down and it's a passing down situation, I know how I'm going to get to the quarterback. If that's something that he's figured out in the off season, I mean, that's only going to help, of course. But The small amount of snaps that we've seen, there's definitely things to like, but he's not at a capability where, he's going to be out there a majority of the plays, I don't think.
And that's a good thing about like him moving this position. He doesn't have to think about the game as much. Obviously he's a tremendous athlete, but it seems like you can get a little bit in your head and start swimming when you start having to think about coverages and all kinds of gap responsibility playing that linebacker position. But when you put him at defensive end and it's 3rd and 8, go get the ball. That kind of mindset can release people's true potential and have him where he's just not thinking and just go out there and play. So if that's the case, then he can explode and be something special.
Who do you think is the most under the radar guy on defense this season? And that could be someone who's a starter. It could be someone who's a little further down the depth chart. Maybe we haven't seen them in as many games, or any if they're fresh.
I'm going to say Asa Newsome.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh, I like that.
I mean, people aren't talking about him after he hurt his knee. They're just not.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, can I give 2? Can I just give it a 1A, 1B?
You can break the rules always.
Yeah, appreciate it. I'm going to go Jordan Dunbar at corner. People are questioning who's going to be the 3rd corner. I think it's going to be Jordan Dunbar. And then I think Colby McAllister does not get talked about at safety at all. 0% of the time. And realistically, he started in the Pop-Tarts Bowl and was absolutely solid. Now, he did get bullied versus Oklahoma State, but that was Ollie Gordon, and he did that to a lot of people. But outside of that game, Colby McAllister was money on special teams, and he was basically money on at safety. So I think as a backup safety, Colby McAllister is everything that we could dream. He doesn't want the fanfare. He's not asking, he's not being a problem. He just goes out there and does his job. He fills the box. He's former corner that can, play in the box. Yeah, sign me up for that guy.
I'm just going to go strictly based on the name. I'm going with Holden Bass. I think we're going to see some Holden Bass snaps this year. I don't know. See what happens. I just love that guy's name.
Oh, this was just for the defensive linemen.
Yes.
Oh, damn. I thought it was you said for defense.
I thought you did say for defense.
Well,
and then you said Holden Bass, and I was like, wait a sec.
He said for the defense.
He did. He cheated.
Oh, so it's just for defense.
Sorry.
Oh
my God.
Fix it. Go.
Fix it. Oh my God. Everybody's on the radar.
Yeah, Ryan Davis, because he's the least talked about of those 3 young defensive ends. So yeah, I'm gonna go Ryan Davis.
Kid any good? I don't know.
Who?
Coach Tui's kid.
No. Sorry, Coach Tui's kid, but you're not.
Oh, wow.
Titus. What is it, Titus?
You don't know that.
Tui Asasopo.
No, I do know that. I know that for a fact.
Oh, no.
Not good.
Well, moving on to the linebackers. Austin Moore led the defense last year with 63 tackles. How many does he get this year?
God damn it. So I was under my number of 80.
Were.
How many does he get this year? What was he at 2 years ago? Not a math pod.
I don't have.
I'm going to say 69.
Sure.
Okay, nice.
How many? Oh, that's how many you're saying this year. I thought you were guessing from 2 years ago.
No. I'm going to say how many he has this year.
He had 63 tackles last year, huh? And that was with guys who were out. And I think there's more talent at the position now. So I'm going to actually go with 55.
What?
And that's because I believe that the kind of that second group, I believe he's not going to have to play as many snaps this season.
That would be good for. I think that would be good for him.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay. I'm going to go with 54. 54 tackles. How important is his leadership, though, in that room with him coming back, knowing that he had the option to leave and not come back?
Huge.
Huge.
This makes me think. So, can defensive players wear a mic now, or they can wear headphones?
Yeah, one player on defense, one player on offense, right?
Okay.
Yep. And it's going to be weird because they're going to have multiple helmets with the mic, but they're going to keep it on the sideline. So if we rotate linebackers,
I'm not going to lie. I was a little worried when Bosco's boys had, who did he have on that was talking about that?
What? Hold on. Didn't they?
He had someone from the football staff on to talk about, and one of the questions he asked was, how are you approaching the whole, like, you can have microphones in the helmets?
I know the 3-mall guys had the director of like equipment.
That might have been it. It might have been 3-mall. But the answer to the question was basically like, I don't know. I kind of brought it up to Kleiman like a week ago, and then we started moving on. I was like, I don't feel good about that.
I think it's just it's an optional thing, though. You don't have to have somebody with the headset on. You can still use the cards. I mean, from what it sounded like with the offense, I feel like a lot of people are still going to be using the cards and not doing the headset thing. So I think it's all experimental, and I think this first game is going to be a really good test run on it. So I mean, it's so weird because we don't really have a true linebacker that never leaves the field. So because we rotate so much on defense, like who do you have out there that does it? But I think they all can kind of call the defense. I mean, Austin did it all last year because when Daniel went down, that he called it almost every play. So I'm comfortable with whoever, but
if it's not Austin Moore, who do you want to be the guy with the green dot?
It'd be fun if it was like Marquise Siegel.
Yes,
I like
that. Would kind of be funny. Yeah,
but it's just you kind of have to have it in a middle guy where he can communicate with the D line. Yeah, because the DBs kind of do their own thing back there anyway. Like every play, it seems like they're like, Dez.
If Marenko
probably,
if Marenko's had enough time, like he has the team captain experience, he can kind of be that guy.
Yeah, Marenko would be a good guess too.
God, which leads me so big.
Leads me to my next question on the outline. It's almost like you guys read the outline this time. Alec Marenko was a team captain at the University of New Mexico, the Lobos. He had 32 tackles and a half of a sack last season. Will his game improve? And if so, how much will his game improve this year? Or is he just more of a leader? Like we just want him to be a locker room guy?
No, I think he's a heat-seeking missile. If his knee is healthy, I think last year, he played with that knee brace on basically the entire season. So if he's, I think he could be like a Daniel Green kind of player where he's just sideline to sideline. They wanted him really bad because Austin Romaine was set to, come in and take the spot, but he's a little young, and if you got a guy that is a senior, I think he could play. I think he's a heat-seeking missile. I'm excited for Marenko.
And if I remember right, we were in a recruiting battle with Arizona, but wasn't Auburn taking a look at him too?
I don't remember the Auburn, but I know.
Yes, yeah, of course. Of course, you gotta, boost these guys up, right? I mean, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. If we look at the season stats for 2024 and he has 32 tackles and a half a sack.
Not good.
That's not good.
No.
So, no. I mean, we have to see his game improve. Now, I don't know anything about New Mexico other than
they were bad.
They were bad. So
it's hard to tackle when they're 15 yards down the field on you.
Fair enough. Yeah. So I have to imagine it's also the locker room guy, leader type, with experience that you want in there. But his game's going to have to improve. I believe that.
And we've had a weird track record of like transfer linebackers. Remember that one transfer linebacker from like
Maryland.
Utah and Maryland too, that guy too. So I think this one's a little different, but yeah, he has to improve statistically. Like you can't have your starting middle linebacker only 32 tackles. It's just not good.
So yeah, this is from K-State Online. He had offers, he had official visits to Arizona and K-State, and he canceled a trip to Auburn to commit to K-State.
Well, there you go.
And he had 9 tackles against LSU in his first game as a starter in 2022.
When did he hurt his leg?
After that, I believe. Not before that. All right. Last question on linebackers. Well, second to last question on linebackers. It has the most athletes by just sheer number of athletes. And when we look at the offense, the offensive line has the biggest number of total athletes with the offensive line moniker next to their name. Same goes for the linebacking room. Who on that list isn't getting enough attention for you right now? And I know my answer is probably Rex Van Wy, because that dude was a dude in junior college. He was like the number 2 linebacker in JUCO in his recruiting cycle. And he didn't get any action last year, kind of a redshirt type of season for him. But he had some amazing stats that he put up when he was in JUCO. And I'm excited to see what he can do. When he was in junior college, you just find his stats here. He had 79 tackles, 6.5 TFLs, and 3.5 sacks with 3 forced fumbles and 2 PBUs in 11 games.
So and he was only in
If he can even do half of that, that's a pretty solid season.
Yeah, he was only in junior college for like 2 semesters too. So I mean, he was literally a true freshman playing JUCO. So that's impressive. Yeah, Rex Van Wy is going to be needed. He's big for the position too. He's really, really big. Like he stands out amongst like all of our other linebackers. So I liked him. I liked him when he did play in the reserve role that he did. I just don't see how much you're going to get Dez off the field, how much you're going to get Austin off the field, and Marenko off the field. They're going to be needed, and obviously we had, the history of every single year a linebacker goes down, it seems like, for a long time. So knock on wood, that doesn't happen this year, Big 12 champs. But Rex Van Wy is going to be needed. And he's so young. I mean, what is he? He's a redshirt sophomore, redshirt freshman, because he redshirted last year. Redshirt sophomore. So, yeah, he's got a bright future ahead of him. I would like Rex Van Wy to do some things.
Yeah, and I'll take 3 years of eligibility too.
Yeah, Matt is probably going to go Austin Romaine, and that's what my answer would be. So I'm going to steal it before he gets in it.
Well, I had already said an under-the-radar guy was going to be Asen Newsome, but Austin Romaine is that guy that nobody is talking about.
Yeah.
Who started a handful of games last season. I mean, it's like game experience is worth so much. Like it truly is. And we're going to hear, everything about, the 3 guys that we've talked about prior, Austin and Alec Marenko and Desmond Purnell, but a guy who has that in-game starting experience in the position is vital. And if he is coming onto the field, on certain second down or third down situations, he's already seen the speed of Big 12 football and how that operates. So he is a name that I am surprised we're not hearing as much about. And it may just be, there are a lot of people that, had this guy on the field last season and we're seeing, and he was slow and wasn't making these plays. Well, he was a true freshman who was also hurt. So yeah. I think he has the potential to really, kind of excel in his sophomore season, improve and get to a position where his junior year, he's ready.
He absolutely got baptized by fire. His first game was freaking versus UCF. I mean, that is nuts. Like, yeah. So Austin Romaine's and if everything goes right, why not redshirt him this year? Wouldn't that be crazy? Like, you could play him 4 games if the linebacker unit is as deep as we think it is. You could play him 4 games and he'd be going into basically his starting year as a redshirt sophomore. So, I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, it's today's day and age. The redshirt really doesn't mean anything to anybody anymore. So, but yeah, Austin Romaine under the radar. Nobody's talking about my boy.
No. And the last question is, which true freshman has the best chance to see significant playing time like in Austin Romaine from last year? Chef, you've already mentioned Jake Stonebreaker.
Yeah, it's too deep. I don't see any of them playing.
Yeah. I don't see anybody.
Jake Stonebreaker, though.
You did.
That was just on name. Replay the tape. I said it was just on name.
I don't see anybody. I think it's too deep of a position where, I mean, 7 guys.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I don't disagree with that. Moving on to defensive backs. So we'll start with the corners. Jacob Parrish last year led the team in interceptions. How likely is he to repeat?
I've already given it to Marquis Siegel.
You have.
So I got to say him. I don't think it's very likely that he does, but I think he's going to be leading in pass breakups, though. So I think they're going to throw him. So he's going to have the opportunity. But I just think Marquis Siegel, it's been written in the stars that he's got to lead the team in interceptions.
Whoa, written in the stars.
Yeah.
I need to pick against everything. I have to hedge my bets against anything that you say.
Whoa.
No, it's okay.
Don't you know I'm the hot take king?
Yeah, I know. Tinfoil hat, actually. I think you're right, actually. So Jacob Parrish would be in the running. I think he's going to see his fair shake of opportunities to make plays in that regard. But the way that Siegel sees the field, he just kind of portrays this guy who's a ball hawk, and he's going to be in a position where he's going to be leading the team this season.
Are we shocked? I mean, I didn't ask this from the previous episode that got posted maybe sometime earlier this week on the offensive. But are we shocked that none of our players made the Big 12 like all conference team, especially for the defense? Like, are we shocked by that? Because like I'm hype on a lot of the players on this team, and we have probably some of the best outside linebackers in the Big 12, and they didn't sniff it. So are we shocked? Because I'm shocked.
Yeah, we really didn't talk about that because we didn't have an episode when that all dropped with the preseason all Big 12 team and everything. I'm not necessarily shocked. I'm a little more shocked that there wasn't like newcomer of the year Dylan Edwards, maybe something like that, maybe. But when we look at this team, we've gone through every single position group, with the exception of a couple of them. A lot of these guys are guys that we're just going off the vibes, and we're just going off of like they played in some of the games last year and did really well, but they didn't start in all of the games last year, like Avery Johnson at quarterback. So some of the exceptions to that are like Austin Moore, Marquis Siegel, DJ Giddens. And I feel like those, and VJ Payne and Brendan Mott. I think those are the guys that could have had an argument. But when you look at running back, you've got Ollie Gordon and Devin Neal. When you look at some of those other position groups, there are guys that are ahead of those guys. So I don't know. I'm not surprised by it.
There's 15 schools like that you got to beat players off of now.
Yeah,
it's tough. I mean, it is wild.
You've got defensive backs who are competing against Travis Hunter now.
Yeah, it is wild that a team who's picked second in the Big 12 preseason poll does not put a player on there. But it's almost like I'm kind of looking back to like some of the older K-State teams that really like they had good players, and it was a culmination of good players. Mm-hmm. That it wasn't necessarily elite players, but good players that come together and do what they need to do to get 10 wins and things like that. So I'm sure the postseason poll's going to look a lot different And
Yeah, that's the one that's
that's
actually
the one that
important, so.
actually matters. So
Yeah, I was just wondering because I'm thinking of like Siegel and VJ Payne. Like those are really, really good safeties. And I don't know who made it as a safety on this list, but I'm trying to like those dudes are tough as nails. And if they even touch what they could do, I think they're gonna be on the postseason one for sure.
So the preseason All Big 12 defensive backs were Tacario Davis from Arizona, Travis Hunter from Colorado, Jeremiah Cooper from Iowa State, Kobe Bryant from KU, and Mello Dotson from KU.
So 4 corners and 1 safety. That's what you're telling me?
Yeah, because they go defensive backs,
Okay.
which you could argue is unfair, and they should probably split that up. But every defensive scheme is different too.
Yeah, I don't see how KU. I mean, KU getting
Kobe
2.
Bryant, I get. Mello Dotson, I don't know.
I actually think Mello Dotson is way better than Kobe was. It's crazy.
He's way less injured than Kobe was at least 2 years ago. Yeah.
Sorry to derail the pod, but that
It's
one,
okay.
I daydreamed. How did VJ Payne not make an All Big 12 team?
Yeah.
And you could probably like go to my K-State, like if you like go to my Twitter mentions, I'd know for a fact I said VJ Payne was going to make the All Big 12 team this year. So
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, thinking about the cornerback position specifically, how do you feel about the depth at that position? Because it's similar to some of the other roles where it's a little top heavy, maybe as far as in-game experience. Because you've got, Jacob Parrish, Keenan Garber, Donovan McIntosh, Justice James.
I mean, Jordan Dunbar and Justice James, I think, are your 3-4. And then you go to your young kids. You got Kanigel. Nobody's talking about Kanigel, and he didn't even redshirt last year.
Tyler Nellum.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are weird. Those guys are weird. Like Nalome and who's the other? Like
Those guys are
Cobb.
weird.
Was it Cobb? There was a Cobb that like transferred in. And those yeah,
Daniel Cobbs.
Daniel Cobbs, like
Safety.
yeah, like those guys transferred in late, and it sounded like there was like good momentum, but they just never saw the field. And I'd be curious to see where their role fits in. Golly, man, we got a lot of defensive backs that are expected to do some things. Like they all can't be on the field.
Well, we can't play 13,
Yeah, a 0-0.
Yeah.
A 0-0-11 defense.
Yeah. Imagine that. That would be wild.
You would need that against some of the Mike Leach offenses.
Yeah. I mean, this one is tough. I'm not like as big on I'm not as big on the cornerback room just because I think right now, if we look at what we saw last season, it's very top heavy to me, at least for right now, just because we don't have a lot of video on some of these guys and like playing in this defense. So who have we heard? I mean, who have we heard? I don't even remember hearing Donovan McIntosh's name. Like, has he been talked about?
We've heard Donovan McIntosh's name. That's the only name
That's only okay. Yeah, that's why this is like my biggest red flag, like on the defense. I mean,
why again? Because
it's top heavy.
I feel like it's very top heavy.
So was it a red flag last year?
Well, we did bring in like Will Lee at the time.
Well,
I would also say, I mean,
you had Will Lee, and
safety was the room that we saw was a question mark last year because we're like, the Siegel guy seems good, but we don't really know about him. And then Kobe Savage is the only like solidified guy.
Right. But what I'm saying is if the corner room is red flag this year, why wasn't it last year when you had Jacob Parrish, less unproven. Keenan Garber literally switching positions, and the only guy you brought in was Will Lee.
I don't remember what I said. I
no,
mean,
I'm not. I'm
I
just
might have
saying.
said last year,
It's
but
fair.
at least, I mean, at the time you brought in Will Lee, who was like considered, one of the top cornerbacks, in the transferring or whatever.
And then it turns out he's probably trash.
So it's going to be situations where it's like, okay, if Jacob Parrish gets hurt,
I think the corner room is tough. I think it is.
I mean, they might be tough, but can they play?
Yeah, I think they can. I mean, you had a guy who might end up being your fourth corner, literally was a starter at Rice. I mean, they're not good. Don't lose the food, but he still was a Division I football player that started at the FBS level. And then you got Justice James, who was on all of those. What's that? Tyler Community College. He was one of those trio that came from there, and he's a grown man. He's married. He plays with no gloves and has a wedding ring on while he plays. Give me this room. It's absolutely improved from last year. So I'm not worried about the corner depth at all, because then you get to the young boys, and the young boys are ready to play.
You bring up a great point, and I was looking back at the outline from last year's defensive position groups, and we don't have any question marks about cornerbacks at all. It was just Keenan Garber and Will the Blanket Lee. Those were the two guys. So, yeah, weird looking back on that in retrospect, because coming into last season, it was Kobe Savage, Marquis Siegel, and VJ Payne was the guy that we were like, hey, he has some solid flashes, but he needs to prove himself a little bit. So that's kind of funny. Which of the younger guys do you think is going to see the most time on the field this year within the cornerback room specifically?
I think it's Knigel.
Knigel.
He was a special teamer last year, but if a guy were to like hop over the two redshirt senior, well, I think Jordan Dunbar's a junior, but either way, like upperclassmen, I think it's going to be Knigel, even though Donovan does have the length that we're missing in that room. Like, nobody in that room is over 6'1" other than Donovan. Which, I mean, is kind of spooky to think about now. Thinking about it now, it is kind of spooky.
I'm seeing a red flag, aren't you? FYI.
No red flags. No red flags. I'm just, that is a question.
It is a question.
I know.
It is.
He would probably be the guy I would pick too, just because he played. He put snaps in last season. So, yeah, this is a tough one for me. We're just on opposite islands on this one.
What number is he wearing?
God damn it.
What number is he, like 4? No. He's a single digit number guy.
You and your numbers. Knigel.
If it's 4,
yeah.
I'm so mad.
If only the K-State football roster website didn't take forever to load now.
Yeah, that shit is annoying as hell.
Absolutely terrible. Okay.
I just do images and see if there's a picture of him. That's usually what I do.
That is fair. I'm going to say Knigel. I like Knigel. I think he was a highly touted recruit as well. He's from Oklahoma. It's good football down in the state of Oklahoma. So I'm going to go with Knigel Thomas. Safeties. There's been a lot of talk about Jordan Riley this offseason. He came from Ball State. I was listening to, the 3-Mop pod that they had with Clanderman the other day. And Jordan Riley was talked about by Clanderman. He was talked about a lot of Big 12 media days. He's a name that's been coming up quite a bit lately. Is he the next fan favorite like a Kobe Savage? Or like a Josh Hayes? Or like a Reggie Stubblefield?
He better.
I don't know if he needs to be that.
I mean, what I will say though is, in his first season, the production has to be similar to all of those players coming in their first year. I mean, he has to have that type of impact, I feel.
Really?
I do. I think it's going to be really important.
Yeah, I mean, when I think of what he brings to the table, I don't think I see Siegel and VJ Payne as like those deep, like pass playing safeties. I see Riley coming into the box and absolutely thumping people. That's what I saw him at Ball State doing. So is he more of a run stopping, and will that limit him? Will that limit him in terms of what kind of interception he gets? I don't know. I want to see how he plays. It's hard to do this when you haven't even seen like these guys like basically warm up in the positions.
I don't
know.
Just looking at his stats, it doesn't look like he has recorded an interception. But he has a ton of pass breakups. So I think if anything's going to happen, he is going to be more similar to like Siegel last year, where he leads the team in like pass breakups. He has a shit ton of tackles, and he's just kind of flying all over the place. Like, I know we made that comment last year about Siegel too. Like, he constantly always felt like he was in the action. He was always flying around doing something. I feel like we'll see Riley in more of that capacity, where stats wise, he's probably not going to have a ton of interceptions, if any, but he's going to have 1-2 pass breakups per game, probably.
Yeah, I mean, like Matt said, we need him to. We need him to. He is our third safety. He's a starting safety. We kind of need production from these guys. We can't have man. Now that I think about it, we were talking about the cornerback. Never mind. I got a young guy that would be awesome if he stepped up.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the question. We've alluded to it a couple of times. Marquis Siegel led the team in pass breakups last year, but he only had one interception because he let all of those passes slip. There were a lot of catchable passes that could have been interceptions that weren't. And I think back to the Texas game. I think he had like 3 or 4 PBUs in that Texas game. Will he make the most of his opportunity and lead the team in interceptions?
Yes.
I'm going
to say it the third time, and that's the last time I'm going to say it.
I hear that he has this new pregame tradition where he doesn't smear butter on his hands. So we'll be fine.
Wow.
Butterfingers.
Yeah. Not letting passes slip through the fingers. No, I mean, I agree. I do think he's going to be the leader for interceptions this season. So, I feel very confident about what he's going to be able to bring on the field down after down, and just being able to be and have the vision on the field to know where the quarterback's going to. He's just going to be able to make some of those plays, kind of complete some of those plays with an interception.
That's really what it is. You've got to just finish. And I think from what he was talking at the Big 12 media days, man, it seems like his teammates are relentless on him, like just giving him shit constantly. Am I lagging or something? What's going on? Why is everybody?
It sounds like an airplane's flying over your base. But okay, this is my last question. We're through all the position groups. I'm done with the position groups individually. I want to ask you guys, when we think about this K-State team holistically, and we think about both the offense and the defense, when we look back on previous years, there were a lot more question marks to me when going through this exercise, position group by position group, this year than we had in previous years. I think when we look at the whole picture. But when you look at the offense and the defense, which one do you feel the most confident in between the offense or the defense? Knowing that there's a lot of question marks kind of across the board.
I'm just going to call the offense. That's just because I think the hype can invoke some confidence. Obviously at the quarterback position, we talked about the running backs, and what DJ, Dylan, etc. I believe highly in the wide receivers. I think Garrett Oakley is going to have a really great year, his first kind of full season starting. The defense for me has question marks. He's like, I hate this take, even though it's correct. But I'm dying. Yeah, so I feel really confident in the offense and what we're going to be able to put out there game after game. A defense is going to be a unit that I think is going to show incremental improvement through the season, and they're going to get better and they're going to get better. The offense, I think, is kind of at a level right now where the floor is high.
I think it's a defensive led team. My computer wants me to get off right now. I'm fighting for my life to stay on this.
Yo, CrowdStrike at it again.
I'm so sorry. It's fighting for its own life right now, but I think it's a defensive led team. As much as I, spouted off at the mouth that the offense is going to be breaking records and all this noise.
Really?
I think it's going to be a defensive led team. I mean, look at the returning production. Everything is on the defense.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, how many we had? What did we have? 2 shutouts last year? No.
Yeah.
2
TCU.
shutouts. No, we didn't shut out Houston. No,
TCU.
It was one shutout, and then we held Houston to 3.
Wait, didn't TCU score?
No.
Oh, they didn't score a point?
I don't think so.
Those dumbasses.
I think it was TCU shut out Houston.
No, they scored a touchdown.
41-3.
Or 3, yeah.
Oh no! So who we shut out somebody last year?
Revisionist history. Fuck.
SEMO.
God damn it!
No, we didn't shut out SEMO either. I don't think.
No.
I swear we had a shutout last year.
It's not easy. It's very easy to pull the schedule up.
I'm doing it right now. 45-0 SEMO.
I don't know.
41-0 Houston.
Oh, I thought I had them switch. So 2 shutouts and basically a shutout with freaking TCU. Those bums. So yeah, I think the defense can, bring back a lot of what we had last year. So I'm thinking it's a defensive-led team. And that's just Kleiman's MO too. So
I feel like I have a nuanced take on this. I feel like every year coming into this exercise, the defense is the unit that we have the most question marks on going into the season. Because we knew who our quarterback was going to be every single year prior to that. We did. We knew it was going to be Adrian Martinez last year, or 2 years ago. We knew it was going to be Will Howard last year. We knew it was going to be Skylar Thompson the 2 years before that. We've always known who our quarterback is going to be going into the season, without question. And I feel like there's always so many fewer question marks on the offense, but this year there's question marks everywhere, but the defense has traditionally had the most question marks. And every year Klanderman surpasses expectations. He knows what to do with each of these position groups. He always coaches them up. Each of the position coaches these different position groups up. And we always have a defensive unit that's like top 30 in the country every year in like defensive efficiency. So in that regard, I feel like I have more confidence in the defensive coaching and their ability to get this defense to where they need to be more quickly. I have more confidence in the offensive position groups, I think, than I do in the defensive position groups, but I have more confidence in the coaching on defense, knowing that we have a first-time offensive coordinator on offense calling the plays for the first time for an entire season. So that's going to be interesting. There's probably going to be some games this year where we're like, what the fuck is Connor Riley doing? And maybe we hand over the pass calling or play calling abilities to Matt Wells. So I don't know. I think confidence is in the defense as a whole. Question marks are across the board, but I don't know, man.
I got an exercise for you to, basically not necessarily prove my point, but just to make you guys think a little bit.
30 push-ups.
Yeah, do 50 right now. No. If Kansas State's offense was going into a game versus Kansas State's defense, who do you think would win and why? So would you take this wide receiver group versus our DBs? Would you take this defensive line versus our offensive line? And would you take our linebackers versus our quarterback running back combination?
Oh man. I would take our offensive line over the defensive line, probably. I would take the wide receivers over the corners and safeties.
Oh, Lord.
And there you have it, folks.
It's a clean sweep, boys.
Tough exercise. That's a tough exercise. I like it.
I think our offense would beat our defense.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Really?
I think it would be close, but I think the quarterback and running back combination would have a little bit more edge over our linebackers, but I think our defensive line would smoke our offensive line. I think our DBs would hold up perfectly fine versus our wide receivers.
I mean, I think you take who is the best player on the field, and you go from there.
Marquise Siegel is better than any of our receivers.
Okay. Let us know in the replies to this, in the comments, everything. Like, go through that exercise yourself and let us know. Do you think the K-State offense or defense would win if they're going up against each other? With ones-on-ones.
Ones-on-ones.
Okay. That's going to do it for us today. Next week, we're going to be doing – Chef's had this plan cooking for a long time.
God.
Chef is cooking up this Big 12 player, like skill position player draft. So
literally cooking.
It's on the stove simmering right now.
Chef's been cooking this up for months. So I'm expecting a very interesting and entertaining episode next week when we record that on August 13th. But that's going to do it for us tonight. Once again, we want to shout out our sponsors, Pat's Beef Jerky and Annie Mae's Parlor. Remember to visit patsbeefjerky.com and use the promo code CATS for 10% off of your next order, whether that's for beef jerky or merch. Doesn't matter to us. Additionally, we are the K-State representative on the College Huddle, which is the largest community of fan-driven content in the nation. Check them out at thecollegehuddle.com and follow them on social media at College Huddle. Again, shout out to our other sponsor, Annie Mae's Parlor. Check them out at anniemays.com. Check out all of their events. They've got a guitar pull that's happening this week. Go to that if you're in Manhattan, or if you're not in Manhattan and you just want to visit. Last but not least, you can follow our show at Cocaine Willie on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, or follow us individually. I'm at Bob Trollsby. Chef is at Chef Andre Napier, and Fireball Matt is at Matt Marchesini. Chef.
Nigel Thomas wears 29, and cocaine's a hell of a drug, baby.
Did he really take Khalid Duke's number?
You idiot.
Yeah.
You're all coke and no joke. Wildcat Country. Let's ride.
Let's ride.
Ride.